I grew up in a Christian family. Both my parents were very much involved in church. My dad led worship and did kids groups. My mum played in the worship band and led a toddler group midweek. When I actually gave my life to Christ, though, I was 5 years old. I was at church weekend, like a Bible camp in Peterborough, and I really wanted to know what it was to be a Christian. And so I asked my dad, whom I was very close with, and he brought out this little book, and it basically showed me that there were two ways to live. There was God's way, and then there was your way. And which way did you want to follow? And he asked me what I thought about it, and I said, yeah, I want to follow God's way. I want to give my life to Jesus. And so he prayed a prayer with me at the back of the book, and I gave my life to Christ. And then he lifted me up and put me on his shoulders, and we went to the bookshop on the camp, and he bought me my first Bible. I continued on growing up, believing, and then when I hit my teens, I started to leave that behind. I didn't outright reject it. I still went to church. I still said the right things and did the right things and behaved well, but in my heart I didn't really believe it. I wasn't that fussed. That was until one Sunday morning at church in the worship. I was just stood there whilst people were singing around me, and I just had this overwhelming sense of God's love. And I felt God say to me in that moment, so which way do you want to follow? Do you want to follow my way, or do you want to follow your way? And in that moment, it just clicked for me. I understood what being a Christian was about. And I understood that God accepted me, even though I had strayed. And so I decided to recommit myself. And then a year later, I was in the middle of my GCSE exams, and we got called for a family meeting. Me and my sister and my brother in a living room with my mum and a family friend. And mum was upset, and this family friend said to us, your dad has come back from his work conference and he's decided that he doesn't want to live with your mum anymore, and that they're gonna separate, and that he was here to talk to us about it before he collected his things and left. And I was so angry with him at that point, and as he sat across the room from me, I decided that he didn't deserve anything from me, that I hated him and I didn't want him to be a part of my life, because if he could just walk out with no notice whatsoever, then why should I bother to make the effort to be in relationship with him? And so for me, at that point, he may as well have been dead to me. Fast forward a month or so, and he wants to take us on holiday after we go back to Bible camp. And my sister and my brother were a bit younger and didn't really understand what was happening, and they wanted to spend time with their dad because they missed him. But I knew what was happening, and I didn't want any part of it. But they would only go if I went. So I decided I would go just for them. But I wouldn't enjoy it. I wouldn't speak to him. And I would come back at the end and life would go on. So we go away to Bible camp with the church, and in one meeting during the middle of the week, again in the worship, I just felt the overwhelming presence of God. God showed me this picture of a scrapbook with all the big moments in my life, and there was this finger flicking across the pages, and under each picture there were emotions, both positive and negative emotions. And the finger stops on the moment that my dad told us he was going to be separated from my mum, and he wasn't going to live with us anymore. And under that were all my negative emotions, my anger, my hatred, my unforgiveness towards him. And the finger then picked up a rubber and it rubbed out all of those negative emotions in this scrapbook. But instead of leaving it blank, it put in love, it put in forgiveness, it put in acceptance, it put in friendship. And I just felt God's love for me, but also I felt my love for my dad return in that moment. So when he picked us up from the end of the week, I was happy to see him. Ran up to him and gave him a hug, and I was excited to go on holiday with him and spend time with him. And we had a really good time. And now I have the best relationship with him that I ever had when we were growing up. We became best friends. So when I went to college after secondary school, we met up for lunch and we spent loads of time together. So that's my story. That's how I know forgiveness works, and that's how I know that God's a God who loves and can help us to forgive those that we do not want to.